Welcome to my video. A while back I made a video about the Mapped Diagnostic Context in Java to show how you can track events in an application. Someone asked me in the comments to make a video of how to handle this scenario of tracking a customer's request in Spring Boot, in the Spring Boot framework, which is actually also going to work in Spring, and the basic concept is also going to work in any other Java Enterprise Edition application. Let me show you this filter. This is where the magic happens. We have this request taking filter, and it implements filter. It's a concept of the Java Enterprise Edition. It filters every request that comes in, and it does that by going through a chain. Now here we are going to make a new filter, and we are going to use this Spring annotation order. I'm going to put it on 1. That means we order it on position 1. That means every request will pass through this filter first. Then we put a universally unique identifier into the mapped diagnostic context. And here we use the ID rec ID. We will also see that in our logging configuration. The logging pattern starts with rec ID, then the thread name, and then the message. Now here we do an initial logging, start of request. We will see soon in the output that this text appears in the logging, but before that it has a UUID, a 16-byte UUID. Then we move the request further down the filter, and this is very important. If you don't do this, then the request will not be handled at all. So we have to add this statement: chain do filter request response. Now the final log statement is end of request, and we will see again that this has the same UUID, the same identifier. Now I have made two example endpoints, endpoint 1 where we get the string back, and endpoint 2 where we have an exception. And this is it. All we need is to add it to our logback logging, and here we have the key, and then we need to put an ID in the mapped diagnostic context. If you want to know more about this concept, then look at my other video. I will put a link in the description. Now let's go to the output. Here we see that our application has started. Then I have placed a request. As expected, we see start of request. Start of request. And here we see the UUID that this request has gotten. And you see here that this is exactly the pattern. UUID. What is this called? Dash, right? Dash. Then you have the thread name, then another dash, and then you have the message. Here we have start of request, and then we have end of request at the end with the same ID, and here you see the whole lifetime of this request with the same UUID. Now here it says get /1 mapped to endpoint 1, the class endpoint 1 with the method 1. Okay, blah blah blah. Then it is writing, hello, this request has identifier UUID to the response. And the request completes. And then here we see, as expected, the final log statement, end of request. Now, here we see another request. And again, we see the UUID. Because this has ended in an error, we do not see the final log statement, end of request. It cannot get there because the request has ended in an error. When the request ends in error, it just stops there, and then it is handed off to the error handling. Now I'm calling /2, that is this endpoint 2, where I throw an error on purpose, an exception on purpose. Again, you see that my request has a new UUID. I get start of request. Now I'm in the code, and then it says failed to complete request, again with the same UUID. Then you have the error as expected, and then again it is exiting without the final log statement. Alright, I hope this has been helpful. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.